Welcome into Buffalo Bills Weekly, a new show where we dive into everything happening at One Bills Drive with the latest updates, analysis, and exclusive content. Alongside of Chris Brown, I'm your host, Maddy Glab. Chris, why should fans be excited for a new show like this?
Yeah, I think we're going to provide some unique details on the team, their upcoming opponent each week. So excited to kind of lend our perspective from right here at One Bills Drive to the fans all season long.
The wait is finally over. Week 1 is here. To get you up to speed, we're hitting the highlights from the preseason. The Bills have 19 new faces on the initial 53-man roster. That means about 36% of the team will suit up in blue and red for the first time on Sunday. One of the highlights to make the roster is rookie linebacker Joe Andreessen. Andreessen, or Buffalo Joe as his teammates call him, grew up about 10 miles down the road. He says he's grateful to make the roster because a year ago he was in the stands cheering for his hometown team. There's plenty of other players with great stories who made the team. So Chris, what are some of your biggest roster takeaways?
Yeah, there were some long shots that made the roster, but it's hard to avoid talking about Keon Coleman and the impact he's made right away. And I kind of liken it to the way Dalton Kincaid was fast-tracked by this coaching staff last year when he was lining up with the starters right from the jump at training camp. And I think taking that a step further, I expect this rookie draft class as a whole to make more contributions this season than we've seen from previous draft classes front to back.
I definitely agree. The rookies will have a big role in this offense and the defense. It'll be interesting to see how they're deployed right away come week 1, because we know head coach Sean McDermott sometimes likes to have these rookies wait a little bit to get folded into things, to have a true understanding of the offense and defense. But I think some of these guys are just too good. You're going to have to play them from the jump.
And I think part of that excitement is rooted in the fact that we've got 2 new coordinators to talk about as well. Joe Brady, as you know, was the interim guy last year. He has a chance now as the guy to put his stamp on this offense. What are you expecting from him?
Yeah, we got a sample size of offensive coordinator Joe Brady from last season because he called the final 7 games of the regular season, went 6-1 in those matchups, and the offense did a great job in those games. They ranked 6th, averaging 27 points per game. Their offensive rushing game was also a highlight of the final 7 weeks of the season. They ranked 4th in the NFL over that span. So I think we can expect some of the same with some new wrinkles folded in. In one of Joe Brady's first press conferences, he said, "This is Josh Allen's offense. I want it to run through him, and I want to play to player strengths." I loved hearing that because it means that he's going to build something around what we have in the locker room. And we've seen that already in preseason, in training camp. He has tasked the wide receivers with learning every single spot. So I think what we're going to get is a lot of versatility out of the guys and how they're deployed.
Yeah, and then as for Babbage on the defensive side of the ball, I think what we're going to see is a similar type approach, because Babbage is a guy that has been with McDermott even longer than the time he spent here in Buffalo with him on his coaching staff. He's been with him in previous stops at Carolina, and I think he subscribes to a lot of the same principles that McDermott does, and we saw what McDermott as a play caller looked like here last year. He focused on dialing up blitzes, pressure packages, mixed looks and coverages to try to force more sacks, more takeaways. Splash plays is kind of the calling card of Sean McDermott play calling. I think Babbage will follow in that same vein going forward. Coming up later, we'll preview Buffalo's Week 1 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, happening here at Highmark Stadium on Sunday at 1 p.m. Stay tuned, because there's more to come here on Buffalo Bills Weekly. When we return, Maddy Glab interviews the rock band Jimmy Eat World in this week's episode of You Heard. And then later, catch the press conference highlights in Soundbite Roundup.
Hey everybody, I'm Jim Adkins.
Hey, what's up? This is Zach Lynn from Jimmy World, and you just heard.
Welcome into another episode of You Heard, where we feature celebrities, athletes, and influencers as they talk about their NFL fandom. Today, we've got Jimmy Eat World joining us. Super excited to have the lead singer, Jim Adkins, and drummer, Zach Lind, with us today, as they're going to help us preview the Week 1 game against the Arizona Cardinals. We see you're repping the Arizona Cardinals hat, Zach, which I absolutely love that you're showing your fandom already. I've got to ask you both, when did you start cheering for the Cardinals? I know you guys formed in 1993 out of Mesa, Arizona. Was that where it formed, Zach?
Well, when we had formed, I think at that point, the Cardinals were pretty young. They just had moved from St. Louis. Uh, so it's sort of strange when you grow up as a little kid and you don't have a team, and then just a team shows up. At least for me, it wasn't like immediate. Like I wasn't just like on the bandwagon right away. I was more of like a baseball kid. I like baseball was my favorite sport. But for me, what started my fandom was when Jake Plummer got drafted by the Cardinals because I'm a big ASU fan. So that immediately like the local kid, and from the college in town here playing for our team has sort of ignited my interest. So from then on, my wife and I and our family have been big fans.
That's awesome. And then, Jim, how about you? When did you start to cheer for the Arizona Cardinals?
I remember going to a game at the inaugural season when they played at ASU, but I mean, yeah, we didn't have a pro NFL team, so like college sports were kind of like the big thing. Like Zach, like the ASU has a big rivalry with U of A. It probably wasn't until a little bit later on, like definitely like a handful of seasons that I started like kind of giving it a shot.
It's tough here in Phoenix because we're a very transient city where people move here from other places and for the most part maintain their allegiances, their sports allegiances. So there's not a lot of people that grew up here. There's not like it's not really a part of the culture in a way that it would be in Buffalo. Like you guys have a huge advantage when it comes to fandom and connection to the city and the team. It's like that's not something we have here yet just because we haven't had the time to do it.
Yeah,
Well,
Maddie, like how many people like what percentage of your stadium do you think is taken up by opposing team fans that just like
oh,
travel?
I would say it's a small amount. Now for the bigger games, I would say there are more away fans or opposing fans, but for home games, usually it's just such a big population of Bills Mafia fans because Bills fans will even buy up like the opponent's fans ticket allotment if there's availability for them to do so. If you're an NFL fan, I'd call it a bucket list experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely what I've heard. I have a friend who played for the Bills, and he also played for the Cardinals, and he has a way bigger connection, like emotionally, just as a fan for him to the Bills. And I asked him about it, and he said the Bills, like he played for a bunch of different teams in the NFL. He said the Bills felt like it was like college. It was like I'm playing for my college team.
I want to talk about the connection that you just mentioned a little bit more. The person that you're talking about who played for the Bills and the Cardinals is former Bills linebacker Lorenzo Alexander, who Bills Mafia and I think so many people in the building here at One Bills Drive absolutely love and adore. He was such a big part of the team when he was here. He was a leader. So many people have so many incredible things to say about him. Lorenzo's the type of guy where you can't say a bad thing about him because he's such a great person, great NFL player, a great dad now, and a great coach. Here's the crossover that's incredible. Lorenzo Alexander is coaching one of your sons. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I have a son, Zane, my youngest son, who's really into sports. And originally, we met the Alexanders because Zane played on a baseball team with Lorenzo's oldest son, Mason. And then so we became friends that way. And then now this Lorenzo started coaching a tackle football team. And so, like, of course, right away when I knew that that was happening, I'm like, okay, Zane's playing for him because I want Zane to learn from a guy like Lorenzo. So, my son Zane's playing middle linebacker and Lorenzo's teaching him how to play it, So, like, how cool is that? And everything you said about him is true. It's like he's a great coach, he's a great dad, he's an amazing dude, and he's really well respected here in Phoenix. With the Cardinals, the Cardinals family really, is connected strongly with Lorenzo too. So it's not surprising that kind of wherever he goes. I think he probably makes a great impression, and people feel connected to him because of, he's such a good leader. He's such a good dude. So we're really lucky that he's coaching our boys.
We'll be right back on You Heard. Zach, do you know anything about the Buffalo Bills since you're an NFL fan? Do you follow this team at all? Do you see them at all on TV? Do you pay attention to them?
Yeah, I mean, I follow along. I mean, I really love Josh Allen. I love the way he plays. I like that he's like a sort of a middle linebacker playing quarterback. I love that style. He's sort of the opposite of Kyler Murray, where Kyler will like avoid contact at all costs, and Josh Allen will sort of take it on, and I think it's an exciting style of play. And he's obviously super talented. I just think the big question for you guys is going to be who's he throwing it to, and how that comes together, and the kind of chemistry they can build over the season. But um, yeah, I mean, I think that if especially if you have a great quarterback and you have a fan base like that, it's going to be hard to go there and win. So that's a huge advantage. And I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, for the season opener.
We can't wait for the season opener. I'm happy it's at home because we have the advantage of Bills Mafia on our side, and it'll get loud when Kyler's on the field along with his offense. So I'm excited to see all that. But I also want to jump into why we have you guys here. Of course, you're Cardinals fans, but you also are band members of the rock band Jimmy Eat World, which was formed in '93. And since then, you guys have done so much work, 10 studio albums, and you've had albums and singles that have topped the charts. So one of those songs is The Middle. I think a lot of us have heard of it, know it, get it stuck in our heads still today like I do. It reached number 5 on Billboard Hot 100, and the album Bleed American was certified platinum. I want to ask you about that song. Jim, what was the most unimaginable thing that came from the release of the song The Middle?
Oh man. I think the craziest, I mean, it still today, it's kind of amazing that song still finds a connection with people. It's not anything that we could have ever expected or anticipated. I mean, the craziest thing that just instantly comes to mind is getting a chance to play on Saturday Night Live with Cameron Diaz, like introducing us. I was like, wait, what? Who are we right now? What's going on? Because like growing up, I remember like setting the VCR to record Saturday Night Live just so I could see like the musical guest. So it's just really surreal to be like in an environment that you had been this far away kind of thing.
Zach, what was the craziest thing that you would say came from the release of that song?
When we made it, it was a song that we thought was good, but it didn't really like strike us as like extraordinary or anything like that. We thought it was a good song in the mix of the songs on the album. It's sort of one of those songs that's, like I said, kind of has its life of its own, and has an impact on people that is sort of hard to measure. So it's like it's kind of wild.
Well, I got to ask you guys, what's up next? Zach, what is up next for Jimmy Eat World?
We're sort of doing, we have a kind of smattering of tour dates over the rest of the year. Um, it's not like any real solid long tours that we're doing. It's more just kind of dates here and there, or shorter runs. And then we're also, continuing to work on new music, and we always try to, keep up with that and write new songs. That's something that's really important to us. So it's kind of balancing both those things, is what's sort of next for us.
New music. Jim, do you care to tease anything that you guys have been working on for fans to expect in the future?
Yeah, we've been working on a jingle for the Bills, actually. Go Buffalo!
Yes. Do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Go Buffalo!
Woo! Wow, that's going to top the charts.
Yeah, we need to workshop it a little bit better, but I mean,
We can't release it though until after the game this weekend. We can't give you guys any ammo.
No, can't give us anything. Thank you so much, Jim and Zach, lead singer and drummer from the rock band Jimmy Eat World, for taking the time out of your day to talk to us Bills fans and educate us about the Arizona Cardinals and just life as a member of a band that's known far and wide by everyone. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us.
Take care.
When we return, catch the highlights from this week's press conferences in Soundbite Roundup.
I mean, I think each season is its own different thing. Each game, for that matter, right? I feel like every game that you play in, it's a different type of situation, and making sure that, Coach McDermott preaches, mastering these situations that we're in. Whether it's trying to double dip, deferring, and there's so many things throughout a game that can kind of tip the balance of the scales. And again, just understanding that and then knowing what to do in those types of situations. I think Coach McDermott does a great job of getting us ready for that. But each game that you're in, again, I think you find yourself in a different spot. So it's always figuring out on the fly. Whether it's the defense comes out and is doing something completely different than we thought, which happens quite a bit against us. I feel like everybody gives us their best shot and changes things up against us. So I wouldn't say it's completely new to us.
Yeah, it's it's a big challenge because we have some new members of our staff as well, and watching us work together, watching us collaborate, communicate, making sure we're going through some of the contingency plans as well. And it's hard too because there's a lot of unknowns when you're coming off of the off season and into the first game of the year, and so it's important that all of those things that I just mentioned are really top shelf for us. And that's we're going to know primarily, we feel like, what they want to do. They're probably going to know the same for us. And it's just a lot of, hey, let's make sure that we have everything where we need it to be.
I mean, it ain't no different than any other week. We've been preparing, against each other. Now it's just we get to go hit another opponent and put a win in the win column. Continue getting after practice, ask for different reps in the game, get your reps in one-on-ones against different looks, ask for different looks from the defense, and pretty much that's about it.
We've been going at this thing since, April? We know what we're doing, and now, start of the year, it's time to go out there and show it.
Every year is a new year, right? So, to go back to that, those of us that were there and experienced it and are still here, that's part of our past. But we're looking forward to this week. We're looking forward to really just today's practice and getting on that field and working on the things that we need to work on to get ourselves better as a football team and individually in terms of fundamentals and things those are the things that are important right now this time of year.
Yeah, it's awesome. We get to watch some football tomorrow and on Friday, so that's really cool. I love watching football. Again, finding new situations that those games are in and trying to play the little mental game of it. But yeah, it's finally here. Got a long 18-week season and hopefully some more games after that. So we got to focus on the first one though.
Welcome back into Buffalo Bills Weekly. We are just days away from Buffalo's home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals finished last season with a 4-13 record, the same record they had in 2022. Arizona had the 4th overall pick in the draft, and with that pick, the Cardinals drafted wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. Harrison had back-to-back seasons with more than 1,200 receiving yards and 14 receiving touchdowns at Ohio State. Chris, what does Buffalo's defense need to do to stop an offense that's on the rise?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, they've got to stop what Arizona has shown a propensity to do best. Last year, they were at the top of the league in yards per carry average at over 5 a pop. So I think you've got to dedicate your defense to stopping their run game first. And then, with the passing game, I think your pass rushers have to be disciplined in their rush lanes. We all know about Kyler Murray's ability to escape the pocket and get yards with his legs when the play breaks down. So those are priorities 1 and 2. And really, if you can do that, I think you go a long way to keeping their offense off the field.
When it comes to Buffalo's offense and what the Arizona Cardinals are going to be trying to do to shut down Josh Allen, I think you have to talk about the safeties that the Cardinals have, Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. They're going to be trying to shut down Allen in the air all game. If that's the case, if they're successful in doing so, I think Allen needs to rely on his check down game and the run game. Let's not forget where the Bills finished at the end of last season with a top 10 rushing offense. If the safeties are muddying the coverage for Josh Allen and confusing him, he can go to some of his options in the flat, some easy options that are out there for him, and the running backs as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox keep the safeties busy, because then for me, I like the Khalil Shakir matchup against their new nickel corner, Garrett Williams. You could get Shakir on Williams. That could be a fruitful day for Mr. Shakir.
You can catch the game this Sunday, September 8th on CBS or Paramount+. Chris will be on the radio with the call, so to hear him and Bills legend Eric Wood, you can listen to WGR 550. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Buffalo Bills Weekly. We will be back for Week 3 to preview the matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. For Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. See you next time.